DubIF is a library that implements the WS Federation and WS Trust protocols. It is in Microsoft.Identity Model. There is another assembly with a very similar name for DubCF. It is System.Identity Model. So there's Microsoft Identity Model and System.Identity. DubIF uses the DubCF assembly. One is not a replacement for the other. In this course, we concentrate on consuming claims with DubIF. The DubIF SDK contains some samples to create your own STS, but we use ADFS to do that. Making your own issuer is really a lot more work than the SDK sample. ADFS2 contains an ASP.NET application for the WS Federation passive protocol. That is, for the web browser single sign-on. And it also contains a web service to issue tokens. It is implemented in Microsoft Identity Server and it uses DubIF. DubIF defines iClaims principle and iClaims identity that derive from the familiar iPrincipal and iIdentity interfaces. That is why iIdentity.name and iPrincipal is in role will continue to work. But iClaims principle adds a claim collection. That's our guy. And you have already seen its properties in the grid view control of the expense application demo. Let's take a closer look at the programming definition of claims. The claims model is much more flexible. Is in role is only yes or no. Claims is name-value pairs where claim type is the equivalent of the attribute name, as in email, UPN, etc. In a SAML token, claim type is a URI. Next is the value property, which returns the actual value of the claim. In the slide, the email name of Alice. One more is value type. It is the XSI type of the value in the XML representation. Let's take a look at a very concrete implementation. A snippet from a SAML 1.1 token as Microsoft likes to use it. Attribute namespace and attribute name are combined into a unique URI. The app1admin's value goes to the value. And since there's no explicit XSI type, it remains a string. To use DubIF, you add some HTTP modules to your web.config. They receive and parse the incoming WS Federation messages, check the signatures on the SAML token, and put the claims in an iClaims principle, which they store in the usual places, and that is http context.user and thread.currentPrincipal. To avoid authenticating each request, they store the claims in a session cookie. To get DubIF to do the above for you, you will have to supply a unique ID and a URL for yourself, but also for the issuer, you will need to tell with which certificate is used for the verification of that issuer. There are tools to do this for you, but they are very limited. It helps you the first time you experiment with this, but most advanced users have reverted to doing things manually in their web.config. Let's go and take a look at web.config. I will use some terms here that do not yet make sense to you. Go to the metadata module of this course to get a better understanding. Audience URI, that is the application entity ID. Issuer, that's the WS Federation endpoint URL. Realm, that's the application entity ID. And then name in the search specification is the entity ID of the issuer.